The day everyone discovered what Adamu was really selling, his leg had already swollen to the size of a yam. The afternoon sun burned over the village market, turning the red earth into fire beneath people's feet. But at the corner where the main road bent toward the motor park, something impossible was happening. Adamu's shoe stand was buried under a flood of customers, men shouting, women pushing, children squeezed between adult bodies, everyone desperate to buy from the young man whose hands seemed to turn leather into miracles. His skill was so extraordinary that people whispered about it in their homes at night. They came from across villages, walking for hours just to buy his shoes. Traders closed their own shops to stand in his line. Women saved money for months just to afford one pair. The shoes were not just shoes anymore. They were hope wrapped in leather, dreams stitched with thread, luck you could wear on your feet. But nobody knew the dark secret hiding beneath those perfectly polished soles. Across the narrow market path, Mama Benson stood like a stone monument behind her own shoe display. Her sandals sat untouched, gathering dust that matched the bitterness settling in her chest. She was a woman in her mid-age who had sold shoes in this market longer than most people had been alive. 27 years of early mornings and late nights. 27 years of building customer relationships. 27 years of honest business. And now, nothing. Rita stood beside her, a woman of similar age whose face had aged 10 years in the past 6 months. They watched Adamu move through his customers with the grace of someone who possessed secrets the rest of them could never understand. Rita, Mama Benson said, her voice tight with something between rage and fear, ever since this Adamu came to this village, our business has been going down finish. He has taken all my customers. All of them. Rita nodded slowly, her wrapper shifting as she crossed her arms. Mama Benson, I have been in this business for 20 years. 20 full years. But this kind of grace in Adamu's business, no be ordinary at all. Looking at all the money he makes, I never see that kind money in a month. Never. Adamu's business spread wide across the region like wildfire in Harmattan. People started talking about his shoes everywhere. In beer parlors. In churches. In mosques. In taxicabs and on street corners. This shoe brings luck, some people would say, their eyes bright with belief. His shoes bring grace, others would whisper, as if speaking the words too loud might break the spell. The stories multiplied like yeast in palm wine. Footballers rushed to his stand, pushing money into his hands. If you buy his shoes and play ball, every shot you take you will score goal, they told each other. Young boys who had never scored in their lives suddenly became stars on the field, their feet dancing with impossible accuracy. Businessmen came in their Mercedes and Land Cruisers, parking them carelessly by the roadside just to reach Adamu's table first. If you wear his shoe, your business will thrive. You will have plenty money. And it was true. Shop owners who had struggled for years suddenly saw customers flooding through their doors. Traders made sales they had only dreamed about. Money flowed like the Niger River during rainy season. But there was something nobody noticed. Something dark hiding in the miracle. After 3 months, the luck would run out. Just like that. Like someone blowing out a candle. The businesses that had thrived would run dry overnight. The footballers who had scored goals with every touch would suddenly face bad luck and injuries that seemed to come from nowhere. And when their fortune collapsed, when the magic drained from their lives like water through a broken pot, they would come back to Adamu. Desperate. Begging. Ready to pay anything to taste that luck again. Papa Idris was the talk of the entire village. The old farmer who had been poor all his life became rich overnight. His transformation was so dramatic that people used his name like a prayer. He bought a farm car that gleamed in the sun. He purchased properties. He built a new house with a zinc roof that didn't leak when it rained. People would point at him as he drove past and say, "You see? Adamu's shoes work. Na God's blessing." Papa Idris wore those shoes like they were made of gold. And for 3 beautiful months, his life was everything he had dreamed it would be. Adamu's business became so popular that jealousy spread through the market like disease. Mama Benson became angrier each day, watching her life's work crumble while this young man who had appeared from nowhere became richer than anyone in the village. Rita came to her one evening as they were packing up their empty stalls. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and purple, and the market was emptying out. Rita's voice was quiet, almost ashamed. "Mama Benson, I can't continue like this. I need to buy that shoe too. I want to make money. Other shoe sellers are buying shoes from Adamu now. Why should we suffer alone?" Mama Benson turned to her so fast her neck made a cracking sound. Her eyes were hard as stones. "Over my dead body. That his shoes no be ordinary. Listen to me, Rita. Since I sold shoes, none of them made people rich. None of them made players win Champions League. This thing we Adamu day do, no normal. I will never put my leg in that shoe. Not in this life and not in the next." But Rita's resolve was already weakening. She had children to feed, school fees to pay, a landlord who was threatening to throw her out. And every day she watched other people choose the easy path while she suffered with her pride. Adamu became richer the more people bought his shoes. The more wealth he accumulated, the more impossible his success seemed. Few months later, he bought a big store in the market square. A proper shop with glass windows and a painted sign and a door that locked with a key. He had started as a roadside seller, sitting on a wooden bench with his shoes spread on a mat. But now he had a big shop while nobody else in the village had ever bought a big shop from their shoe business. Not in all their years of selling. While other shoe sellers continued to sell on the roadside, begging customers to even look at their goods, sitting under umbrellas that barely protected them from sun and rain, Adamu's shop stood there like a monument to impossible success. People didn't even need to call customers anymore. They just came. They just kept coming. The anger in the market reached a boiling point. One afternoon, Mama Benson stormed into Adamu's shop. Her wrapper was tied tight around her waist like she was going to war. Her face was set in hard lines. She didn't care who was watching. She didn't care about respect or reputation anymore. "Adamu," she shouted, her voice cutting through the conversations in the shop. "You think I don't know what you are doing? You came here few months ago and now you have a big shop. You collect my customers and my business and you think God is not watching you?" Adamu looked up from the shoe he was wrapping. His smile didn't reach his eyes. There was something cold there, something that made the other customers shift uncomfortably. "Mama Benson," he said slowly, "you are just jealous because nobody day buy your old scrap you call shoe." The words landed like slaps. The shop went silent. Everyone stared. Mama Benson's voice shook with rage. "So you call my shoes scrap? Abby? Na, so you get mouth to talk to me?" Adamu stood up. He was younger, taller, richer. And he knew it. "Carry your jealousy comet for my shop. You don't know business. Instead of you to ask me to teach you, instead you come here to insult me in front of my customers. God will judge you," Mama Benson said, her voice dropping to something quiet and dangerous. "Everything has expiring date. Mark my words, Adamu. Everything." Adamu laughed. The sound was ugly. "Na your papa God go judge." Mama Benson left the shop with her head high. But inside, her heart was pounding. Because she knew something was wrong. She could feel it in her bones, in the way the air tasted when Adamu was near, in the wrongness of his success. What nobody noticed, what nobody could see, was the truth hiding in plain sight. Each time people wore Adamu's shoes, he was stealing their wealth. The more people wore his shoes, the more unlucky they became. The poorer they became. When their luck ran out after 3 months, they didn't understand that they had been robbed. They just thought their good fortune had ended naturally. They didn't know that their wealth had transferred into Adamu's pockets, into his bank account, into the foundation of his new house and the engine of his new car. The pain started on a Wednesday morning. Adamu woke up and felt something wrong with his left leg. Just a small ache at first. The kind you blame on sleeping in a bad position or walking too much the day before. He ignored it. He had money to count. Customers to serve. Success to maintain. But pain has a way of growing when you ignore it. By the end of the week, his leg started swelling. Just slightly. His ankle looked a bit thicker than normal. His shoe felt tighter. He told himself it was nothing. Maybe he had hit it on something. Maybe it was just water retention. Maybe it would go away on its own. It didn't go away. The swelling increased day by day. His leg began to look strange, uneven. The pain became unbearable, a constant throbbing that kept him awake at night, that made him sweat through his sheets, that turned every step into agony. Within a few weeks, his leg had swollen big as a yam. The transformation was horrifying. One leg normal, the other grotesque and enormous. He started wearing very big trousers to hide it, baggy clothes that made him look like he was swimming in fabric. He pretended to be fine, forcing smiles when customers asked if he was okay, limping through his days with gritted teeth. But each day, one of his legs grew bigger and heavier. The weight of it became impossible to carry. Soon he couldn't go out again. Couldn't stand behind his counter. Couldn't walk to his shop. Couldn't do anything except lie in his bed and feel the thing growing, always growing, a punishment that wouldn't stop. That was when people noticed their luck was going. All at once. Like a curse lifting. Like a spell breaking. Papa Idris woke up one morning to find his farm crops dead. Just dead. Overnight. The animals he had bought started dying one by one. His car broke down and couldn't be fixed. Within weeks, the rich man became poor again. Poorer than he had been before. Because now he had debts. Now he had the memory of wealth, which made poverty taste even more bitter. Rich men who had built empires watched them crumble. Businesses collapsed. Investments failed. Money vanished from bank accounts like it had never existed. Across the village, across all the neighboring villages, everyone who had bought Adamu's shoes felt their world falling apart. There was panic. There was confusion. There was the horrible realization that something was very, very wrong. Before the shoes, before the wealth, before any of this nightmare began, Adamu had been a poor shoe seller. Just another young man with dreams too big for his reality. He had wanted wealth so desperately he could taste it. Every time he saw men driving good cars, it made him sad. Every time women chose richer men, it broke something inside him. Every time he went home empty-handed to his disappointed mother, he felt like he was dying slowly. So one day, driven by desperation and hunger for more, he went to a native doctor. The man lived at the edge of the village where the forest started to swallow civilization. His compound smelled like smoke and herbs and blood and secrets. Adamu sat across from him and spoke his truth simply. "I want to become rich." The native doctor studied him with eyes that had seen too much. Then he brought out a soap. A black soap that looked ordinary but felt like holding lightning. The soap was wrapped in red cloth and smelled like wood ash and something else Adamu couldn't name. "Each time you use this soap to bathe," the native doctor explained, "you will wear all the shoes you want to sell. If someone wears the shoes after you, their wealth will transfer to you. But first, they will be rich. They will think they are lucky. They will think God has blessed them. Then, after 3 months, they will be poor. And you will have everything they lost." Adamu's hands shook as he held the soap. "That's all?" "Not quite." The native doctor's voice dropped low, dangerous. "Make sure nobody else uses this soap to bath. Nobody. You hear me? If another person uses it, everything will reverse. The juju will turn against you." Adamu nodded quickly. "I hear you, Baba. Nobody will use it." He left that compound with the soap hidden in his shirt and his heart pounding with possibility. He used it faithfully every morning. He wore the shoes. He sold them. He watched his customers become lucky. He watched them become rich. And he felt their wealth flowing into his life like water finding its level. 4 months, everything worked perfectly. The system was flawless. The magic was real. Adamu became the man he had always wanted to be. Then one night, drunk on palm wine and success, he brought a prostitute home. Her name was something he forgot before morning. He was too drunk to think clearly. Too drunk to remember the one rule. Too drunk to hide the soap. The girl found it in his bathroom. Just soap, she thought. Just something to wash away the smell of men and money and shame. She used it to bathe, the black water running down her skin, and in that moment, without knowing it, she reversed everything. The juju turned. The curse flipped. And Adamu's leg began to swell. When Adamu didn't appear at his shop for weeks, people started talking. His phone went unanswered. His compound gate stayed locked. His curtains stayed drawn. The village buzzed with speculation. Some people thought he had run away with their money. Some thought he had died. Some thought he had gone to enjoy his wealth in another city. But nobody knew the truth. Each night, Adamu cried in pain. He tried treating the leg, but nothing worked. He secretly went to the hospital, but the doctors couldn't help him. They looked at his swollen leg with confusion and fear, running tests that showed nothing, prescribing medicines that did nothing. Because this wasn't a sickness medicine could cure. When people didn't see Adamu for too long, they became suspicious. They went to his house and knocked. He shouted at them to leave from behind his locked door, his voice weak and desperate. Mama Benson was happy knowing that Adamu was sick. She noticed the rich people becoming poor again, one by one, like dominoes falling. She told them in the market, her voice carrying across the stalls, "I warned you not to buy shoes from that evil boy. Now you are poor while he is rich. But everything has expiring date." A few days later, the youth became angry. They had lost everything. Their families were suffering. Their dreams were dead. And they needed someone to blame. They stormed Adamu's house on a hot Tuesday afternoon. 20 young men, led by Emeka, who had lost his entire business to Adamu's cursed shoes. They knocked. They shouted. They threatened to break down the door. "Adamu, open this door now. We know you day inside." Silence. Then the sound of something heavy dragging across the floor. Slowly. Painfully. The door opened just a crack. Emeka pushed it wider. What they saw shocked them so deeply that 3 people vomited immediately. 2 fainted. Others stepped back, muttering prayers, making the sign of the cross, calling on Allah for protection. Adamu sat on the floor, his back against the wall. His face was thin, gaunt, like he hadn't eaten in weeks. His eyes were sunken with pain and sleeplessness. But it was his leg that made them understand they had been dancing with something far beyond their comprehension. One leg had swollen so big that one person couldn't carry it. It was grotesque. Inhuman. The skin stretched tight and shiny, marked with black veins that pulsed like evil rivers. It didn't look like a leg anymore. It looked like a tumor. Like a curse made flesh. Like punishment from God himself. Jesus Christ, someone whispered. Adamu looked up at them with tears streaming down his face. And he confessed everything. The native doctor. The black soap. The juju that stole their wealth. The system that made him rich while they suffered. The prostitute who used the soap and reversed the curse. Every detail poured out of him like poison from a wound. The crowd listened in stunned, horrified silence. That's when they called the police. The officers came and took Adamu away, dragging him and his monstrous leg into their van. The village watched the vehicle disappear down the dusty road, taking with it the man who had promised them miracles and delivered curses. In the weeks that followed, the other shoe sellers who had bought from Adamu began struggling. Nobody would buy shoes from them anymore. The entire market associated them with Adamu's evil. Parents warned their children. Wives warned their husbands. The stains spread like oil on water. But Mama Benson and Rita, their businesses began to thrive again. People remembered who had warned them. People remembered who had stood firm when everyone else was chasing impossible dreams. Customers came back slowly at first, then in larger numbers. Because in the end, people wanted shoes they could trust. Shoes that were just shoes. Nothing more. Nothing less. Mama Benson stood in her stall one evening, watching the sun set over the market. Rita stood beside her, both of them quiet, both of them tired, both of them older than they had been a year ago. "We survive," Rita said softly. "We survive," Mama Benson agreed. Because sometimes, surviving is the miracle. Sometimes, refusing the easy path is the bravest thing you can do. Sometimes, the race is not for the swift, but for those who can endure until the end. And in a prison cell somewhere, Adamu sat with his swollen leg, a living monument to the truth that some shortcuts lead straight to hell, that some prices are paid in flesh and blood, and that the only wealth worth having is the wealth you earn with your own honest hands. The mysterious shoe seller came like a blessing and left like a curse. And the village learned that miracles that seem too good to be true usually are.